Hello again, welcome back. Here we are to continue our discussion of data visualization with JavaScript and web technologies. Okay. Um, in the previous half of class, we discussed using JavaScript, CSS, HTML to create data visualizations. We also explored using Canvas to create a visualization. And in the last half of the term, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on a library called D3. And we're going to use D3 to create a final project that will be a data visualization. So, what is D3 and why did we learn these other things, first, right? Well, D3 is a library written in JavaScript that uses HTML, CSS, and SVG to create web graphics, right? Or, data-driven graphics, right? And by exploring how we could create stuff using, HTML and CSS, just the vanilla without any, vanilla code without any libraries or extra code from outside, we can see what's going on inside D3. If you were to take the ideas that we started with in the beginning of class and continued to develop them into a library, you might actually end up with D3 when you were done. Okay, so someone probably did that. They probably started from the very beginning and they made some, some code that drew some things and they thought, well, let's put it into a library to make it easier to use and let's add some features. And, 10 years later, we have this D3 library that does so much, right? So hopefully by having learned the concepts from the earlier lessons, we can see what's going on under the hood in D3, right? And also D3 is going to give us a chance to look at SVG, which is something we haven't looked at. So D3 works with HTML and CSS, but it also works with SVG. So we're going to look at that also, right? And so that'll give us a chance to explore something new. Okay, great. So we're on lesson number 8, D3 intro, and then you're going to do this tutorial right here, the D3 tutorial. And this is just, after it's just a place for you to practice the concepts that we'll cover in class today. And so that way, you'll kind of get a chance to, practice and work on the ideas from class. And then you're going to take all that and you're going to turn it into a final project, okay, using D3. And we'll start that later, but we have a couple classes to work on that, so there'll be plenty of time for that. But let's start with this tutorial to kind of get the ideas under our belt, right? Okay, so let's go to the D3 lesson for right now. And the learning objectives for today are to identify some use cases for D3, and then define data used by D3, and create simple visualizations with D3. Okay? So if you can do those things by the end of class, then you've got the lesson down. Let's talk about like what D3 is and what D3 stands for, right? So here we are, D3. D3 stands for data-driven documents, okay? And they describe themselves as D3 is a JavaScript library for manipulating documents based on data, okay? So what does that mean, right? Well, so D3 is a JavaScript library. It's all written in JavaScript, runs in a browser, should run in any environment that runs, or maybe not any environment, but it'll run in a lot of places that would run JavaScript, right? Right, maybe like any browser, right? Okay. It's used for manipulating documents based on data. So you're going to make a document based on some data. So it's going to take the data, the numbers and the values, and turn it into an HTML, CSS, SVG document, okay? And then they go on to say that D3 helps you bring data to life using HTML, SVG, and CSS. So they use the same tools we were using in the previous assignment. They don't use Canvas, but that's okay, but they're going to add SVG, which is something new, okay? D3's emphasis on web standards gives you the full capabilities of modern browsers without tying you to proprietary framework, right? So what does that mean? Well, essentially they're saying like, hey, we work in any browser. So if you create a document or some presentation done in D3, you can display it in any browser, anywhere. Anybody with a phone or a laptop or a desktop computer can view your work. Okay, and that's pretty nice, right? It's very like accessible to the world, right? And then it goes on to say I can't talk today. Combining powerful visualization components and a data-driven approach to DOM manipulation. Okay, so combining powerful visualization components and data-driven approach to DOM manipulation. I like this last bit, data-driven approach to DOM manipulation. So what does that mean, right? Well, essentially when you create a D3 document, you connect it to some data, and then you tie that data to DOM elements. And this is a lot like what you did in the earlier assignment when we made the HTML visualization of the Titanic data. We created a div element for each piece of data in our array of passengers, right? And then we styled it or set its visual appearance based on the data in each of those objects, right? So for each passenger object, we had one DOM object, okay? And that's exactly what they're talking about here and exactly how D3 works. So, it's a little different, but it's very similar, right? And the idea is that we'll load some data into D3, and then D3 will manage elements based on that data, okay? And it'll style them. You get to decide how they're styled, right? And it has a few different ways you can work with them. But the idea is that for all the data that you load in, you're going to create elements, DOM elements, and manipulate those elements based on the data, okay? So there you go. Right? Yeah, D3 is pretty deep. It's got a lot of stuff inside it. It's been around for a long time. Even, with a couple weeks to work on this, we're just going to be scratching the surface, okay? So how does it work, right? So to understand that, we really have to use it, right? We'll have to get in and actually try a couple things, right? So there's a couple things you can do here. Why don't you explore the D3 page and take a look at some of the things that people are making with D3, and then that'll give you a pretty good idea of what it does, right? So I'm gonna click on this link. You should click on this link here to go to the D3 homepage. I'll open it in a new tab, and here we are on the D3 homepage. Actually, this D3 homepage is made in D3, and you can click on any one of these examples here. So I could click on this thing right here, and it'll load up our document. This is actually on Observable. So Observable HQ, it's a site. It's kind of like GitHub for D3 projects. So you can create a D3 project here and they kind of host it. We're not going to use Observable, but it's a great place to post examples. So if you make a really cool example, you can put it on this page. Hey, that's pretty cool, right? So D3 has created a bunch of these SVG circles, and they all run away from the mouse. Pretty fun. It says example uses D3 force collision. It's D3.force collision. Must be a method to prevent circles from overlapping. Fun. Okay, cool. Let's try another one. What about, let's look at this one. Oh, Les Miserables, co-occurrence. I guess this is a chart and it kind of shows the relationship between the characters and the story. It says the matrix diagram visualizes character co-occurrences. So I guess when characters appear together in the story. Interesting. And I guess these are all the characters. I actually don't know the story, but I've heard of it. I've seen the name. I've seen the pictures on the bus. But anyway, so that's pretty cool, right? So that looks very different than the last one. Let's look at another one. What about, actually, let's look at a map. One of the things D3 does is you can use it to draw maps, and you can also map geocoordinates onto those maps, right? And that's a really cool feature. And then you can show different projections from maps too. So let's go look at another one here. Let's look at a map. Azimuth and distance from London. Measure vertically to find the great circle distance from London to any point. Weird. I like this map though. Okay, cool. So let's look at another one, right? So what about, oh, I like this, this chart looks kind of cool right here, show reel. So D3 animates stuff. It's drawing different kinds of graphs here. The first 15 seconds of the D3 show reel. Okay, so, do me a favor, stop the video here. And then, well, actually, yeah, just, I'll just end the video here and you explore these examples with D3 and take a look at the D3 homepage, okay? And then in the next video, we'll create an example using D3. We'll get started with it, okay? So thanks for watching.